Have you ever looked up and seen a giant, colorful teardrop floating silently across the morning sky? It looks like magic. But the hot air balloon is actually a perfect example of physics in action. It was the very first way humans ever flew, taking to the clouds long before airplanes or even gliders were invented. To understand how a balloon works, you only need to understand one simple rule of nature. Hot air rises inside that massive fabric bag, which pilots call the envelope, is a huge volume of air. When the air is cold, it's dense and heavy, but when the pilot pulls the trigger on the burner, a massive flame shoots up, heating the air inside to nearly 100 degrees Celsius. As the air gets hotter, the molecules start to move faster and spread out, making the air inside the balloon lighter than the cool air outside. This creates lift. The bigger the envelope, the more hot air it can hold, and the more weight it can carry. From the heavy wicker basket to the passengers inside. One of the most amazing things about hot air balloons is that they have no steering wheel and no engine to move them forward. So, how does a pilot get where they want to go? They use the wind. If you look at the sky, the wind isn't just blowing in one direction. At different altitudes, the wind might be moving north at 10 kilometers per hour, but 500 meters higher. It could be blowing east by using the burner to climb higher or opening a vent at the top to let hot air out and sink lower. The pilot searches for a layer of wind moving in the direction they want to go. They are essentially surfing the atmosphere. The basket itself is almost always made of wicker, and there's a very clever reason for that. Wicker is lightweight, but more importantly, it's flexible. When a balloon lands, it doesn't always stop gently. Sometimes it bumps along the ground or tips over. A rigid metal basket would crack or bend, but wicker acts like a natural shock absorber, flexing and springing back to shape to keep the passengers safe during a sporty landing. Safety is built into every part of the flight. If you look at the very top of the balloon, there is a large circular hole covered by a flap of fabric called the parachute valve. This isn't for a person to jump out of. It's held shut by the pressure of the hot air inside. When the pilot wants to land, they pull a cord that opens this valve, letting a burst of hot air escape so the balloon can descend. Because the air inside is so much hotter than the air outside, even if the burner went out, the balloon wouldn't just fall like a stone. It would act like a giant, slow-moving parachute, drifting gently back to Earth. Floating in a hot air balloon is a unique experience because there is no wind blowing in your face. Since the balloon is moving at the exact same speed as the wind, the air around the basket feels perfectly still. It is one of the quietest ways to travel, where the only sound is the occasional roar of the burner and the distant sounds from the ground below. It's a reminder that sometimes the oldest inventions are still the most beautiful ways to see our world from a whole new perspective. Thanks for watching.